everybody, and welcome to another edition of VOW Live. Hi, Rob McCarran here, coming to you live here at 11:22 p.m. Eastern. Hopefully, all of you out there are having a good night here as WWE Raw has ended. Now, this show, we will not just be talking about WWE Raw. We're talking about whatever topics you want to have addressed. Whatever topics, from WWE Raw tonight to AJ Styles wrestling in WWE to the Royal Rumble on Sunday to New Japan Pro Wrestling and the injury to Hiroshi Tanahashi. Evolve Pro Wrestling had a couple of big events over the weekend, so we're going to be talking about any of that. And here on the show, we'll be taking your calls too if you would like to call in and get in on the conversation. Hopefully all the equipment is up and running and ready for all of that to take place. If you are joining us live here on YouTube, you can join into the live chat here in YouTube as well. voicesofwrestling.com/YouTube, the live stream. I've linked it out on Twitter at ShakeThemRopes. But we have a live chat on the YouTube page. If you're catching us at voicesofwrestling.com, feel free to leave a comment or join our Voices of Wrestling forums where you can chat everything pro wrestling and comment on this very show. So I'm monitoring the Skype line if you would like to call in with your topics, with your questions, with your comments, any opinion that you have right now. The phone lines are open. Skype is Let's Say Things. All the information is up on the screen right now. Let's Say Things, all one word, or the phone line, 260-494-3811. If you're going to call in via Skype, you have to add me as a contact first, or I don't believe the call will go through, so I will accept that if you add us as a contact, or call us, 260-494-3811. You can do that whenever you like during the time that we are live on the air here, so at any point during this show, you can do so. I'm also monitoring our Twitter feed. At ShakeThemRopes is the Twitter feed to get in contact with me. At ShakeThemRopes is the Twitter feed for the podcast I host with Jeff Hawkins on the Voices of Wrestling podcast network, Shake Them Ropes. So if you tweet at Voices Wrestling right now, I won't see it. So tweet at Shake Them Ropes. We are going to be taking your calls. If anyone wants to call in, and I encourage you to, please be a part of the show, because really, we're still kind of in beta. We're in beta on VOW Live right now because it's the first month we've done it. This is the third one I believe I've done solo here. And it's difficult to go solo. I'm not trying to make excuses. It's difficult. It's a hard thing to do to talk for an hour by yourself. So I would much like for me to be selfish guy, that you call in and get your thoughts here on the air. But also because this show, I envision it as being produced by you, basically. This is your show. This is your show to get the comments and the topics that you want discussed into the discussion, not just host controlled. If you want to talk AJ Styles not using the Style Clash, instead of waiting for me to bring it up, you can bring it up. You can bring up whatever topic that you want. And the screen, some of the topics that we're probably going to get into are also on the screen here. And everything should be up and running, enabling us to effectively run this show and take your calls. So anytime on the Skype line. This is also, and I'm running through these little things here just because it is new. We might have some viewers who never saw this before, never saw the first couple of weeks. This is not a podcast that's going to be released in audio. YouTube video exclusive. At least that's how I envision it going right now. So you can watch it live with us, or you can catch it on YouTube later on demand, but no RSS feed for this. So keep in contact with us on Twitter for these shows, but, listen and, watch live. That's what they're here for. So we have quite a few people in the chat room going on right now. So I appreciate those who are in the chat. I appreciate those who have joined us for several of our shows already, and hope that you continue to do so. Some of the topics that I had in mind today, obviously WWE Raw ended. This was a big weekend for wrestling. It was the Royal Rumble, which I personally was really excited for. We talked about it on Shake Them Ropes Live last night on this very YouTube channel. So if you haven't checked that out yet, I encourage you to. Jeff Hawkins and I went through the Royal Rumble and gave our viewpoints on the match and the pay-per-view as a whole. Some of the topics I had right now were obviously the Royal Rumble fallout. AJ Styles had his first ever match on Raw tonight, wrestling Chris Jericho, and some of the different kind of comparisons and contrasts I had with that to previous matches. And we'll get into Hiroshi Tanahashi's injury and who X might be coming up at New Beginning. But we do have a call coming in to the Skype line. Let's Say Things on Skype. Caller? You are on the air. Your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, Rob. This is Nathan from Oakdale, Minnesota. I guess Minneapolis is the better location because people will actually know where I'm calling from if I say it that way.
Sure, absolutely. Nathan, thanks for calling in again. We were able to get you on the show a couple of weeks ago when we were really testing it. I think it was the first episode I had done.
It was.
Yeah, so what is on your mind tonight?
Well, I wanted to get your thoughts really on the Can you still hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, I just wanted to get your thoughts kind of on the match that they set up for Fastlane tonight with Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar versus Dean Ambrose. I believe that was a match at least. What do you think? Yeah, what do you think will be the outcome of that match? And do you see anybody but Roman Reigns winning that?
Yeah, a little bit of a surprise. The main event segment tonight, I mean, it was sort of a show-long storyline that WWE started to do with WWE Raw, where there's always this self-contained storyline within the episode. And tonight's was set up by Triple H at the start of the show. The wrestlers were supposed to impress the Authority tonight. And the wrestlers that impressed them the most would set up a match at Fastlane with those wrestlers, and the winner of that match at Fastlane, the main event of Fastlane, would wrestle Triple H for the world title at WrestleMania. So tonight,
correct,
the match was made. Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, and Brock Lesnar in a triple threat match. The winner will go to WrestleMania to wrestle Triple H. And no, at this point, I don't see how there's any way. I don't see how there is any way that Roman Reigns does not win this match. And you have Dean Ambrose in there, which is supposed to be, the friends, the best friends who are now going to be in this match, and they're going to have to, like they've done before in matches like this, they're going to have to go against each other. And that'll be interesting, but you have Brock Lesnar in there, and they keep to this mode where they put Brock Lesnar in these multi-man matches that he can't win so that he doesn't have to lose. I see no way, and we'll talk about it. Jeff, I want to get Jeff's thoughts on Shake Them Ropes this week because we're going to do Shake Them Ropes on Tuesday.
Sure.
I see, and I want to get what you felt when this match was made. I see there's no way that Roman Reigns doesn't win. And I probably see him pinning Dean Ambrose to get there, and then the next night on Raw, they're just all buddy-buddy again. Oh, it was a hard-fought match. Good job, good job. You go your way, I'll go mine. And Brock Lesnar maybe gets taken out by Bray Wyatt. I'm surprised that Brock Lesnar is not involved with Bray Wyatt on Fastlane in any way. So this will be a situation most likely where the Wyatt family involves themselves in the main event at Fastlane to get Brock Lesnar out of there. But yeah, Roman Reigns, 95%, I would say, the chances of him winning that match at Fastlane.
Okay, that's a little bit less than me because I would say probably 100% chance that he wins. I mean, the obvious route to me is they're going for Roman Reigns versus Triple H at WrestleMania. The issue I have with the match, I don't have a problem with them doing the match. The issue that I have with the match is that it doesn't need the WWE title. I saw a lot of people saying this last night via Twitter, but even before I saw the conversations, I pretty much was thinking the same thing. And with Triple H being the champion, do you think come WrestleMania, Roman Reigns versus Triple H, do you think that there is a chance that Triple H wins that match? Or do you think it's a foregone conclusion that Roman Reigns wins the match, wins the title? And do you think him winning the match will make him a star? Because I know that's what they're going for. I think they believe that he's already a star, but there's a lot of people that think that he's not taking well and that he's kind of being rejected by the audience and whatnot because he's already getting mixed reactions.
Sure.
And I'm just wondering, do you think this is their way kind of to try and make Roman into a star? Because it seems to me like a last-ditch effort.
Yeah, it's interesting because, I mean, you mentioned how Roman Reigns has been getting mixed reactions. He's been getting those for a year and a half now, right? I mean, this is a regular thing with Roman Reigns. I don't see Triple H winning the match at WrestleMania. And we don't have a Money in the Bank that can get cashed in like we had last year.
Exactly.
So now there is a one-way street here. Roman Reigns has to win if he's in the main event of WrestleMania. Now, I leave 5% there. I do not believe there is any chance that Dean Ambrose wins the main event of Fastlane. No chance whatsoever. But I would give 5% that Brock Lesnar could, and they do Brock and Triple H at WrestleMania again. I don't think it's likely, but I wouldn't put it past them to give 5% for Brock Lesnar, Triple H, and Brock Lesnar maybe goes on to win the championship. But yeah, it seems like what was basically the scenario last year, where Roman Reigns was going to win Fastlane. He was beating Daniel Bryan. He was going to go on and have the obvious and necessary in some minds big win over Brock Lesnar and get coronated, the next big thing, with a victory at WrestleMania. It seems like that has to happen this year. There's no outs. There's no Seth Rollins waiting in the midst to cash in a title briefcase. It has to be Roman Reigns who wins this three-way. He has to go wrestle in the main event against Triple H, and he has to win that match. And your biggest WrestleMania of all time in Dallas, Texas at AT&T Stadium is going to feature Roman Reigns getting a mixture of boos and cheers as he wins the world title off of Triple H, unless Triple H just does an all-time heel job and gets everyone there in Dallas to turn against him, which Triple H sometimes can do. But I fear that the Dallas crowd is going to like Triple H beating up on the Golden Child, on the next Golden Child, and they'll be more pro Triple H than they were Roman Reigns. Could it be a WrestleMania 22 issue again, where you had John Cena in this same role going up against Triple H, trying to retain his championship in that case?
That's a very interesting
the crowd
scenario.
Absolutely.
Because I was there actually.
Oh, so was I?
Yep.
Yeah, so was I. And that was a very interesting crowd because you had Triple H, who was coming in as the big time heel. And keep in mind, WrestleMania 22, that crowd kind of turned in favor of Triple H towards the end of the match with John Cena.
Yep.
And John Cena was supposed to be this big super baby face. And Triple H turned baby with Shawn Michaels and rejuvenating DX shortly after that WrestleMania. And that crowd was kind of the impetus for that, to get the face turn of Triple H going. Will this crowd be similar in Dallas? Will this big time WrestleMania crowd turn Triple H face in the middle of this big time match that's supposed to be a coronation of Roman Reigns?
I think they might.
Yeah.
But I don't think Dallas to me isn't as hostile as Chicago. So, I mean, they might have a better chance of getting Reigns over in Dallas than they would, say, if they did this match in Chicago or any other smart city like New York or something like that.
And that's
Dallas, they have a shot.
Yeah, and that's a question I would want to ask too in our chat room or on Twitter at Shake Them Ropes. I want to get people's thoughts on this too, because does the city matter anymore for WrestleMania? Because you have so many people coming from out of state, from out of town, from out of the country, where you could put WrestleMania in any city anywhere, and it's going to be a hyped up crowd full of a lot of fans who were at the Royal Rumble last night. You know, the fans that know AJ Styles and the fans that don't necessarily know AJ Styles. The fans that want to cheer Sasha Banks at the top of their lungs, and the crowd that doesn't really care what Sasha Banks does. You know, I think we get that crowd that is super into what they want to be into and not super into what they're force-fed. And in this case, a lot of fans think they're force-fed Roman Reigns. I personally am a fan of Roman Reigns. I think the guy has potential. I think there's a lot of missed potential there, not on his side, that we've seen so far in the last year and a half. But I'm not hating on Roman Reigns. He just happens to be the guy that was picked. I think it's a bad situation he's in where crowds hate him solely because he's the guy that the authority, if you will, has picked to be the next big star. And that's no fault of his own. And I hope he can do enough to win the crowds over, kind of like The Rock did. The Rock had the star capability where he turned crowds in his favor. Can Roman Reigns do that? I've seen nothing from Roman Reigns yet that truly tells me he can for sure, but I've seen enough that tells me there's something there that might let him turn the crowd in his favor.
I think they're banking on, I think WWE is relying or thinking too much that because Roman Reigns is The Rock's cousin, and because The Rock had the natural charisma in Roman Reigns, and I don't know if that's going to exactly happen because it's two different people. And I honestly, like, The Rock is a natural on the microphone. He always was. He always will be.
Yeah.
Some of his promos lately I haven't really been a fan of, but Roman Reigns just, he's not that great on the microphone. And the stuff that, like, for instance, back in the Attitude Era when The Rock was hot, they could write their own promos, or basically they were given a few punchlines and a few cues or whatever, and then the rest they were just ad-libbing.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Vince McMahon is writing, from what I'm hearing, Roman Reigns promos, and he's making him sound like an idiot. And it's not doing Roman any favors. And it's like, I desperately want to try to get behind the guy, because I do see potential in him, but it's just, they're making it extremely hard. And another issue I've always had with him is his moveset, because when he was in the Shield, he did all his spots and whatever, and it was great when he was in the Shield. But now that he's not in the Shield anymore, he does the same moves that he did when he was in the Shield, and the rest of the time he's kicking and punching.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically it. And I'm just looking for something more to try to, I guess, connect with him, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. And I think a lot of us kind of want to see more from him. And yeah, the Roman Reigns watch will be, again, we're going on the second straight year of the Roman Reigns watch being the interesting thing heading into WrestleMania. But this time we have a lot fewer outs. We don't have really any that I see, unless they just want to keep making a multi-man match as the main event of WrestleMania. Maybe someone else gets involved. Maybe there's some chaos at the end of Fastlane and we get Dean Ambrose still in the main event at WrestleMania time. I don't know how we're going to do it. But it's a very interesting topic, and I want to thank you, Nathan, for calling in again and for kicking us off the second time here in 3 weeks.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. That was Nathan calling in from Minneapolis. Before we get to our next topic, and the phone lines are open, 260-494-3811. If you want to call in, give your opinions, question on anything in the world of wrestling, or Skype, Let's Say Things. You can also find us on Twitter at Shake Them Ropes, as I'm bringing up the Twitter machine right now. I'm also, if you notice, my voice might be a little different this week. If you saw our Shake Them Ropes podcast last night, the live show after the Royal Rumble, you noticed that I was indulging a little bit, and I had been during the day. Well, what happened was today was not a great day for Rob. Today was a little bit of a post Chicago trip illness, if you will, a cold I may be catching. I would say I am catching. And I also was drinking a little bit last night. Some say Fun Rob showed up. Maybe, I don't know. Had a little hangover. So tonight I'm trying to be professional broadcaster guy. So watch this segue as I get into our next caller, area code 202. This is VOW Live. Who are you and where are you calling from?
Hi, Rob. How you doing? This is Chris from Washington, D.C.
Chris from Washington, D.C. Have you gotten yourself out of the snow yet?
Not yet. Still snowed in. Still snowpocalypse here.
I love that there's a big snowstorm. I figure every call I will get will be either from like a place like Minneapolis, where Nathan was calling from, or the East Coast, as you guys have nothing better to do with your night than to listen to me, because you can't go outside. You're trapped indoors right now, and I'm very sad to hear it. But go ahead.
No, unfortunately, but it's always great though to hear from well-informed wrestling enthusiasts like yourself. That would help. It helps with the shoveling.
I love it. Yes. No, I tell you what, I shovel. I'm here in Northeast Indiana, so we have our fair share of shoveling to do most of the time too here in the winter. And yeah, I love when a podcast comes out, because I schedule my shoveling around when there's audio I can listen to. That's what I do. So I'm happy to have helped a little bit. But what is on your mind tonight? This big wrestling weekend has concluded. What caught your eye the most?
Okay, I think I'll. Wow, with a lot that's happened this weekend, I think what caught my eye, much like everyone's talking about, is not only Austin Aries joining WWE through NXT, but also, AJ Styles debuting at the Royal Rumble.
Yep.
It was, inevitable. I'm kind of, it's kind of bittersweet for me, only because I had followed AJ since his NWA TNA years, and, he deserves it. Don't get me wrong. And certainly with all the prestige he's garnered in New Japan,
Sure.
He's got something huge here. So my question is actually regarding the match he had with Chris Jericho, which has been kind of a dream match of mine.
Yeah.
So it was very good. I would hope a rivalry would come out of this, but more than likely it looks like Kevin Owens might still be in that mix because Owens did eliminate him from the Rumble. So just, in general, where do you see AJ Styles fitting more? Is he a solid high-end, talent in terms of, is he going for the belt? Is he just in the mid-card right now? Or how does this work now? I mean, in this brave new world of WWE.
AJ Styles is going to be a hot topic for more than a few weeks here, I feel. Right now, and to answer your question directly, he's in the upper mid-card. And there's nothing wrong with that right now. We're headed into WrestleMania. They have their clear direction for the top of the card. And right now, the top of the card is Triple H. It's Roman Reigns. So really everything else is going to be mid-card or below. Right now, he's in the upper mid-card. He had the match with Chris Jericho tonight, which you mentioned is a dream match that a lot of people were, as soon as this match was announced tonight on the show, people were hyped for it. They let off the 9 o'clock hour tonight with this match. They obviously feel like AJ Styles is something important. He's a TV draw at this point for them. So I like that they put him in an important slot on the show. It seems like, you mentioned dream match. I remember when Chris Jericho left WWE the first time and he started teasing that he might wrestle elsewhere. He might, he had
I remember that.
Yeah, he had the TNA logo on his maybe Facebook at the time, or it was just on his website at the time. And AJ Styles was there. AJ Styles and Chris Jericho was a dream match then. And here it is in 2016 happening now. It was definitely a dream match, and they delivered pretty good. I mean, it wasn't a all-time classic or anything like that, but if you're expecting those every week on Raw, I think you're probably having higher expectations than what you should. And I'm not saying you personally, but in general, fans out there. It was a quality match. AJ was important. Chris Jericho, it seems like, is a guy that just wanted to work with AJ no matter what. He's like, I don't want to wait till WrestleMania and things get lost in the shuffle. I want to work AJ the next night he's in because I don't want to miss this opportunity. It's 2016. I'm not going to wrestle forever. I need to wrestle AJ, and I want it on Raw tomorrow night. I'm sure Chris Jericho probably pitched that idea.
Well, it's a hell of a pitch from him, tremendously so. And I think of anybody looking at Jericho's track record over the last few years of his returns and just him being, as altruistic as you can be in the wrestling business to help talent, especially those that are not as known as Jericho, because Jericho was fortunate to be, in that mix of the Attitude Era, just to, help with the other guys. And if he could lose to anybody, it was grand for him to lose to AJ in a very good showing. And I just hope to see, more of that coming forth, from both guys.
Very, very good showing. I want to thank you so much for calling it. Is there a time frame on when the snow is going to be gone? Are you guys locked down for the week?
Not the week. The snow has stopped.
Okay.
So now everybody's just digging themselves out as best they can. Some stores are open. Well, in my area they are. So it's just a matter of getting out.
All right. Well, good luck to you getting out. I know that storm was coming. I have a brother who lived in Norfolk, and I knew, there's a lot of people bracing for this storm here, and I wish you the best in getting out of it, and thank you so much for calling in tonight.
Oh, thank you very much, Rob, and thank you very much at Voices of Wrestling. Thanks.
All righty. And the caller brings up a good point with this Chris Jericho AJ, and we'll get to what may be the main story coming out of this for us that like to dissect everything. Chris Jericho and AJ Styles, it reminded me, because when I say Chris Jericho probably pitched this idea, I'm saying that based on evidence that we've had before. Daniel Bryan, when he came into NXT, his first WWE TV match was also against Chris Jericho. This is a guy that does not mind losing, and he wants to have the fun matches. He wants to work specific people. He's asked to work Finn Balor on shows before, on house shows that he would appear at. He's asked to work Neville. This is a guy that wants to make sure he can get the fun matches in. He doesn't want to be working Kane every night. And he's a guy that, based on his career, has a little bit of sway. He can basically dictate what kind of matches he has on the house shows and certain TV. He's not going to dictate what match he has at WrestleMania. You know, we've seen that. The guy was booked against Fandango one year. You know, he's not going to dictate WrestleMania, but on house shows and TV, sure. Give Chris Jericho whatever match he wants. And that's what they did. They gave him AJ Styles, and a very strong showing for AJ, but we're going to get into the whole finisher issue here in just a moment. We had a question via the Skype line. Amig87 asks, do you think that they are planting the seeds of Reigns turning heel on Ambrose? And this has been something that a lot of people have speculated for a long time, whether it would be Reigns turning on Ambrose, whether it would be Ambrose turning on Reigns. I mean, the Survivor Series tournament, people thought that there might be a heel turn from Dean Ambrose, and there wasn't. I truly think at this point, they don't have that idea. I truly believe at this point, their idea is to keep these guys friends until they have no other choice. And going into WrestleMania, now is not the time that they don't have any other choice. They have other choices. So no, I don't see a Reigns heel turn coming on Ambrose. I see it as the two friends fighting for the title. They're going to fight, but when it's all over, the better man will have won, and the other guy will shake his hand. Much like the Survivor Series tournament, Dean Ambrose will shake the hand of Roman Reigns and go forward. But who knows? You have the authority there. You have Dean Ambrose there. Maybe Dean Ambrose turns to keep Roman out of the main event, and maybe that's what causes our cluster to get into a match at WrestleMania with a little bit more heat behind it. I don't know. I'm interested to see where that goes. Obviously, the top mid-card position in WWE with AJ, with Chris Jericho, with Ambrose, with Kevin Owens. You know, our caller mentioned Kevin Owens, where he's going to be at WrestleMania. If they give him a singles match, it could be AJ Styles. Less likely tonight that it's going to be Sami Zayn, because Sami Zayn was nowhere to be seen on Raw tonight. So it looks like he's just back in NXT and no position here in WWE at the moment. But you also have that big Intercontinental title. Will they do a multi-man ladder match again? Kalisto's the U.S. champion. Will he be the ladder match at WrestleMania this year? You have to watch out for that ladder match. There's going to be a lot of participants in it. And all these guys who were trying to push for singles matches on the show, they're not going to have singles matches. AJ Styles may not have a singles match. AJ Styles may be the key guy in a 6-man ladder match at WrestleMania. And that wouldn't necessarily be a horrible thing. AJ Styles being in the company, having key matches on Raw like the one he had tonight with Chris Jericho. Next week, you know, AJ Styles versus Neville is a match people will look forward to. AJ Styles versus Dolph Ziggler. There's a lot of stuff for AJ to do. A lot of stuff for AJ to do. So thanks everyone thanks for the 2 calls that we've had coming in. The phone lines are open, 260-494-3811. Twan Mack on the chat room says, as much as he's getting paid, they treat him like he's something. Yes. Imagine that. WWE treating the guys they just signed and got a lot of fanfare for, treating them as a big deal. This is great. And on that note, let's talk the finisher. Because I put up a poll on Twitter. I put up a poll asking, yes or no? Should AJ Styles have used the Styles Clash by now? Because AJ hasn't used the Styles Clash here on WWE TV. He's teased it several times via last night in the Rumble, via tonight on Raw. He's teased it a lot, but he hasn't used it. So I straight up asked, because I'm seeing a lot of feedback, like, I can't believe they didn't let him use the Styles Clash. Is the Styles Clash banned? What's going on here with the finisher? Don't you have to get these finishers over? Should AJ Styles have used the Styles Clash by now? 21% say yes, 58% say no, and 21% say don't care. So the overwhelming majority says no, he should not have used it. And if you're answering no to that question, I have to feel like you like what they're doing so far. AJ had a half-hour showing in the Rumble. He had a strong win against Chris Jericho tonight on Raw. It's not like he's getting buried. He's winning the matches. You're putting over AJ right now. there's still time. And Jeff and I talked about this on Shake Them Ropes last night. We'll probably talk about it again tomorrow because I know Jeff really thought they should have used it tonight. So I'm interested to see Jeff's back and forth on the Styles Clash not being used. Former guest of the show, Dylan Hales, tweeted out this tonight. He was actually at Raw. He couldn't believe that Styles didn't use the Styles Clash to finish off Jericho. And a little like Hideo Itami on NXT, who didn't use his Go to Sleep. The Go to Sleep's a little different. It was previously used by CM Punk. It was a high-profile finishing move. You know, the last person to use the Styles Clash in WWE was Michelle McCool. It's not like people remember that too well. We can't protect the Styles Clash because it was Michelle McCool's finisher. I just really feel like they're waiting for a big moment for him to bust out the Styles Clash. So you have a two-prong approach with AJ. You have the putting over of AJ, and then you have the putting over of the finishing move, which will come later. Maybe he does have a singles match at WrestleMania. Maybe he works Kevin Owens. Maybe he works Neville in a match, an important match, and he hits the Styles Clash at that point. Hooray! The crowd will go nuts. And you know what? We'll all be like, you know what? It's good that they waited 3 or 4 weeks. It's good that they waited 2 months. Put this finisher over? Yeah, it puts the finisher over. It puts the finisher over because it's so killing that he uses it once, he finishes his opponent, but it's also a move that he struggles to have to hit. It's not like an easy move. You actually have to work for a finish. AJ Styles working for a finish. I think they're doing all right with it. I'm not getting on their case for not using the Styles Clash right now. So 59% in our poll are kind of right there with us. And I want to thank, some of the larger turnout for a poll we've done was this poll right here. So thank you for that. We had a question. Do you see the Bullet Club on the main roster NXT and will AJ be in it? No, AJ's by himself. You know, I was in this mode when the news was coming in that AJ was going to be coming into WWE. I was in this mode where it would make sense for a Bullet Club backing AJ Styles to wrestle Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family. But it looks like Bray's on to other things. So will the Bullet Club come in? I think they will, but I think they're going to be put with Finn Balor. I think they're going to be backups for Finn, maybe in a heel role, coming up at an NXT takeover. And I think I see them in NXT. I don't see AJ Styles being associated with it at all. So I think the Bullet Club is going to be on their own. We have another call coming in on the Skype line. Caller, your name and where you're calling from.
I'm Joe, calling in from
Chattanooga, Tennessee. Joe, how are you?
Yeah, first of all, I had to give you a call that wasn't involving the snow, for the love of God.
Yes.
And secondly, watching the past 2 days, it's just, first of all, kind of going back on the Dylan Hales thing, Southeast.
Uh-huh.
Whoever got that last indie date won the lottery on that one.
Yeah, it looks like, as far as I know, Corey Hollis, who's also worked NXT lately, is going to be AJ Styles' last opponent on the Indies.
Well, I was about to say also the show, because I'm in that area.
Yeah.
And 450 tickets are going to go real quick.
Oh, yes. Yeah. WWE superstar AJ Styles coming into town because TNA
coming
superstar.
To your small North Georgia town. Yeah.
TNA superstar doesn't really do much these days. It really hasn't for a while.
I'm not going to lie. Part of my fun this weekend was just watching certain places on the web lose their ever-loving mind over this weekend.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't, but it was hilarious. I can't help it. Because, well, they're kind of crazy that way.
What's the big topic on your mind? Obviously, we've this week's been dominated.
AJ.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, it's AJ. I'm not going to lie because it's AJ and what will possibly become the New Japan for, I guess, at this point.
Uh-huh.
I guess that's a name we're all deciding to go with at this way.
Sure.
And the fact that right now, going back to the Styles Clash, I'm not even really worried about the Clash because the Clash is over and he's not even headed yet. The crowd is like, because they already know what's coming. It's now anticipation. It's like in NXT we have a Tommy tempting those GTS spots.
Right. Yeah. No.
The crowd's
this crowd's ready for him to hit this move, and they're going to have to wait a little bit for it. So when he finally does, they're going to be anticipating it. It's going to be well built up. They'll pop like crazy. He'll win a match. There's been talking. There's a lot of questions out there. Like, is it banned because it has injured people in the past? which is a valid
Yeah.
question. I mean, that's a fear that you could have. I don't believe it's
Well-
banned. I don't believe it's banned at all. I just think they're waiting for the finish because, people
Yeah.
are trained. People know how to take the bump. There
Well,
are accidents
And
for
I
everything.
had someone I was talking to bring that up, and it's like, well, what are you going to let him do? That freaking pile driver he was using?
Right. Yeah. That you won't see, guys. That you're
Yeah.
not going to see. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
As fun as
AJ's
it is to watch AJ hitch a Gonzo driver, not going to happen.
Now, will you be going to the AJ Styles independent show next weekend?
Considering the money situation right now, and anyway, that weekend I'll probably be at another show doing things,
Yeah.
helping around friends.
That weekend is also the weekend that NXT is coming up to the Midwest, and I'm going to the show in Indianapolis, which is on Saturday the 6th, the day before the Super Bowl. So
Nice.
there's a lot of shows going on that weekend.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wonder, that's the question, who will be on that NXT show is a real interesting topic. Only 2 weeks away, but, we have the shuffling
Yeah, I was
up.
about to say, that's 2 weeks away.
Yeah.
And also, that puts it past the 30th, correct?
Sure does.
Yeah, and that becomes now, does the other big name in this 4-pack arrive, or is he just going to be hiding out down in DC
I would practically guarantee that Shinsuke Nakamura will not be on the Midwest shows for NXT. So if you're going to the Midwest shows and you're hoping that Shinsuke will be there, don't get your hopes up. He's probably going to be locked in that performance center for about a month, getting acclimated to different things, looking for a home, and this guy has real life stuff he has to do when he gets here.
I was about to say, I think he has wife and kids,
Yeah.
too.
He has to look for a home. Like Hideo Itami is an interesting factor because he left the significant others behind in Japan.
Mhm.
He's here by himself. So you have a lot of acclimating to do. You have a lot of homesickness. I don't believe Nakamura will have any trouble acclimating, but you got to have time to do that.
I was about to say, the word is he's a generally proficient English speaker.
He does okay.
So
there are promos. There are promos you can go watch on YouTube where he speaks, in English. He's not, speaking English like we are, which isn't some big thing because,
Well, I was about to say, I don't think it's, as Jericho put it, the broken English of Jetto and Gatto, but,
Yeah, but
it's
he'll
generally
fit in.
proficient.
He'll know what people are talking about right here. And for those that are asking, no alcohol tonight. This is water because I'm trying to protect my voice and get better. No alcohol
And
in
I
the
was
cup.
about to say, it's
I'm
a Monday, man.
I'm professional broadcaster guyer here tonight on the show. Professional broadcaster Rob McCarran.
There you go.
That's me. Joe, I want to thank you so much. I'm glad you're not. It's still cold where you are, though, right?
Oh my God, it is. We got frost everywhere right now.
Frost.
Chris, it's Tennessee, and it's
Chris in DC is buried under snow, and we are going to get frost tonight. Woe is us.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
I was about to
right?
say, I once had funny off-topic story.
Sure.
I had my uncle move up here from Florida, where I'm originally from, and when he moved up here, this was just before December.
Okay.
He's like, man, it was unseasonably cold. And he's like, really? Well, yeah, it was. Yeah, what was it? Like 70.
70. Yeah.
Yeah, and that that look of just.
Oh yeah. Like you're expecting a cold temperature, you don't get it, and you're like, wait, did he just say what I think he saw? It's amazing.
And I'm from Florida, so I know what it's like. But then again, I have other family that are in the Minnesota area. Talk to them about our cold, and they're just like, shut up, you don't know cold.
Just stop it. Yeah, just stop with this nonsense. No, I get it completely. But Joe, thank you so much for calling in, and I hope you'll stick with us on future shows.
Will do.
All right, that was Joe calling in from Chattanooga. Thank you so much for calling in. The phone lines are open, 260-494-3811 or Skype, Let's Say Things. We got some questions here on Twitter at Shake Them Ropes sent earlier today. Sean Ross Sapp, who was a guest on Shake Them Ropes last week, asked, who would win a Royal Rumble if it were comprised of just wrestling podcasters? Give us the top 5, please. I believe Sean is asking this question hoping that I would include him. But however, due to the way he exited our show and our interview with him on Shake Them Ropes, I am leaving him out. He's denied access to the podcaster Royal Rumble. He is completely denied access. I will, put in his co-host, Vince Russo, though. I will put Vince Russo in the podcast Royal Rumble. I will put Jeff Hawkins, my co-host. I will put Joe Lanza of the Voices of Wrestling podcast. I would put David Bixen Span of the multivarious podcasts he's host of. I honestly couldn't tell you a name because I'm pretty sure I would just mix them up because there's so many of them. How many is that? Bix, Jeff, Joe, Vince Russo, and who's the fifth one? Who's the fifth one, chat room? Who is the fifth podcaster in the top 5 of the podcast Royal Rumble? I want you to give me a name, and when this chat finally catches up, I will give you the fifth name of that of the entrance into the Royal Rumble for wrestling podcasters, and we will get that fifth name here in the chat room. Tom on Twitter asked, what are your top 3 matches for AJ Styles during this WWE run? Top 3 matches for AJ Styles. I think you would want to see a match with Neville. Not a 4-minute Raw match, but a pay-per-view undercard match. Give him 15 minutes. Neville and AJ Styles is a match that you want to see on WWE TV. See if what they've done on the indies can translate up here. I think a lot of people would put Finn Balor in that category. I'll leave Finn Balor out right now because I don't think it's realistic this calendar year, maybe in a couple of years. I could see that happening on the main roster next year, Finn Balor and AJ. But I would go Neville, John Cena. John Cena and AJ is a match I would want to see. And how about Sami Zayn? Sami Zayn on the main roster and AJ Styles. So those would be my 3. If you have to leave out Daniel Bryan, because you have to leave him out, will the guy come back or will he not? We don't know. Colt Cabana. It's an interesting. Gio said Colt Cabana in the top 5 of the podcaster Royal Rumble. Sure. Colt Cabana in the top 5 of the podcaster Royal Rumble. And we got this question, and this was the topic I wanted to discuss, non-WWE. Hiroshi Tanahashi, it has come out that he suffered a shoulder injury on the second to last night of Fantastica Mania, really exacerbated it on the last night of Fantastica Mania. So Hiroshi Tanahashi has a shoulder injury. We don't know how serious it is. He has not been removed from any of the Road to New Beginning cards yet. And of course, on Saturday, one of the very important Road to New Beginning cards, Shinsuke Nakamura's final match in New Japan. He is in the main event with Shinsuke Nakamura in a 6-man all-star tag. So you would hope that Tanahashi can make that show. We don't know how serious it is, but at this point, with what we know and with the way he worked after the injury, give Hiroshi Tanahashi a week off. He can be put in multi-man tags. He doesn't have an important match for the New Beginning pay-per-views yet, so maybe they just hide him all month long in 6-man tags. I don't expect Hiroshi Tanahashi to miss any time. I don't expect him to miss one single show. But he does have a shoulder injury, and we kind of have to watch that. Because, as Gio says in the chat, New Japan cannot afford that injury right now. They lost AJ. They're losing longtime tag team champions in Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows. And they're losing Shinsuke Nakamura. You can't lose Hiroshi Tanahashi for a big amount of time, whether or not Minoru Suzuki comes back, because from all intents and purposes, it looks like after the Noah show on the 31st, Minoru Suzuki is going to come back at New Beginning. It looks like that could be. So is Minoru Suzuki X? Is he going to be the opponent for Kenny Omega? Is he going to run in and maybe go after Kazuchika Okada? Could he be Okada's next opponent? Minoru Suzuki, it looks like he's going to come back. And that will help a little. It doesn't save Noah, or it doesn't save New Japan, but it helps. It gets him back a little bit. So yes, DW on the chat room says they can't lose Okada, Tanahashi, or Omega. And you're right, they can at this point. They could do okay without Omega. As long as he, if he suffered an injury before the Intercontinental Championship match, it wouldn't be killing New Japan. If he was the Intercontinental Champion, yes, you would not want to lose your Intercontinental Champion 2 times in a row due to injuries or leaving the territory. You would not want that to happen. Joe Lanza, if you listen to the Voices of Wrestling podcast, is really on the train for Michael Elgin. He thinks Big Mike is going to be X, the opponent for Kenny Omega for the Intercontinental title at New Beginning. He believes that will be the main event of Nagata. Kenny Omega versus Michael Elgin. That would be very interesting if Michael Elgin was put in a main event position. Very interesting for a main event position. Before I go too far, which is crazy because we've already gone, I think, 40 minutes or so on the show. Thanks, everybody, for sticking with us here on the chat room and the Voices of Wrestling live feed. I want to let you know, Shake Them Ropes Live. We went live last night after the Royal Rumble. If you did not watch that show or missed it, catch it on demand. It was also released as an audio podcast. You can catch Shake Them Ropes on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, and the voicesofwrestling.com website. We will be back with a new Shake Them Ropes tomorrow. Jeff and I will discuss all the big WWE and NXT topics, everything from AJ in the Rumble, from Brock Lesnar's role at WrestleMania, from everything that we saw on Raw tonight, plus some topics from NXT, including a debut that was promoted by WWE.com. It's no surprise WWE has promoted that a superstar debuts on NXT in the coming weeks. We'll talk a little bit about that on Shake Them Ropes this week, so catch us on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Downcast, or the RSS feed, which is available at voicesofwrestling.com. Subscribe to this video. If you are listening on the chat room right now, if you are listening in the chat, please do me a favor. Please do me a favor. If you see the little thumbs up button under the title of this program, click on that. Like the video. Like the video because the more likes this video gets, the higher it shows up in search rankings. More people can see it, and more people can then chime in on future shows. I would appreciate it if you hit the like button very quickly. It does not take a lot of time. Please like the video. If you have social media, if you're on Facebook, Twitter, go ahead and share this video with others. If you tweet wrestling, most likely your followers know that you tweet wrestling. Tweet the link out to the show. I would appreciate it. It would help. There's no cost to you, obviously. It's just a second of your time, and it would greatly be appreciated by me. Comment in the chat room. If you're lurking right now, let your voice be heard in the chat room. Let your voice be heard in the chat room. And I hope you guys will join us on future episodes. The call-in number right now is 260-494-3811. The Skype is LetsSayThings. We'll probably take one more call on the show tonight. So if you really want to get that topic, if I haven't covered it yet, please, by all means, join us here and we will talk that topic. Interesting thing happened, non-WWE related, yet also kind of WWE related over the weekend. Evolve. Gabe Sapolsky's promotion. Gabe Sapolsky, who's been a guest here a couple of times on Shake Them Ropes. Gabe Sapolsky ran his Evolve shows over the weekend, 3 of them. Ran a tag team tournament to crown the first ever Evolve tag team champions. And those first champions, Drew Galloway, the former Drew McIntyre, and Johnny Gargano. So you had NXT's Johnny Gargano, TNA's Drew McIntyre, on an Evolve show, winning the Evolve tag team titles, a brand that has an association right now with WWE. Triple H was at the show on Saturday, at the Evolve show on Saturday. So that's an interesting dynamic. Johnny Gargano and Drew Galloway joining up to become tag team champions as Drew wrestles for TNA and Johnny Gargano wrestles now in NXT. He's not exclusive. He's not a WWE signee, but he does wrestle for NXT. So a guy who's a tag team champion with a TNA wrestler wrestles, regularly on WWE Network's NXT. I did want to give a shout out to David Bixenspan, who was nice enough to call in to a previous VOW live. David Bixenspan has a story up, if you haven't seen it yet, on the Big Show's boxing trials, his boxing career that never was really. It's called The Great White Hope. You can read it on SB Nation. David Bixenspan, a story on the Big Show and his boxing efforts. I remember going through when Big Show quit WWE and he was going through the boxing phase and ended up, actually wrestling Hulk Hogan on a Memphis show and not doing the boxing in true form. It was a fun story to kind of follow with Big Show because you're like, yeah, why wouldn't Big Show be the best boxer of all time? Who's gonna, do better than him in boxing? Who? It was a fun story to watch, but David Bixenspan has it all written up on SB Nation. The illness is getting to me, and it's not fun. Illness is no good. So I hope everyone out there is healthy. We got, Grammarian says Bix's Big Show article is very good read. Yeah, so I want you guys to go check that out. We hit the Evolve topic. Michael Elgin, is he X? We'll see. All the WWE topics, Jeff and I will go through thoroughly on Shake Them Ropes tomorrow. So catch us on the iTunes feed. Voicesofwrestling.com/STR gets you directly to us. Directly to us. So go check that out. The Rock returned tonight on WWE Raw. He was there on Monday Night Raw. We will talk about The Rock in depth on Shake Them Ropes. And also, and feel free to send us in tweets or emails. rob@voicesofwrestling.com is the email. The Rock is a polarizing figure in a lot of ways. I mean, he's very entertaining. The Rock is must-see television. You can't look away. That doesn't necessarily mean good. That doesn't necessarily mean bad. A lot of people like to give The Rock flack for, his promos being stuck in time back in the 1990s, a little out of touch for today. I think there's an argument there. But you can't argue that it's must-see. Everyone wants to watch it. You're not going to turn away. You want to see what he says next. So we're going to talk about what we felt about The Rock's return tonight, his place at WrestleMania, and so much more on Shake Them Ropes. It is your last call to submit a question here in the YouTube chat or at Shake Them Ropes. Last call right now for questions. We did get questions early on Twitter. Tom on Twitter wants a early World Series prediction. Early World Series prediction. Like Sean earlier, I feel like this guy wants me to give the answer he wants, and that's the Detroit Tigers. Sure, they got some big names. They got Justin Upton. But another Justin on that team is falling apart, and that's Justin Verlander. The Tigers aren't going to get there. They're not going to get there. I see the Royals probably getting back there. I see the Royals in the World Series going up against the Los Angeles Dodgers. I'm going to give it to the Dodgers this year. We'll see. Could the Cubs get there? Yeah, maybe. Maybe they can. Grammarian on Twitter says, any ideas for Taker at Mania? The Undertaker hasn't come back yet. A lot of years where he does his WrestleMania run in, he shows up in February, so we could still see that after Fastlane. But what does he do? Who is there? Another match with Brock Lesnar? It seems like Brock's going with Bray Wyatt, so that's probably out. Where does The Undertaker go? Kevin Owens? If you're doing Brock and Bray, you've obviously given up on doing the super matches, because Brock and Bray isn't a super fight match. So maybe Undertaker and Kevin Owens, which would be a super match for a lot of people in the crowd, would be a good one for me, but it's not for the majority of WWE fans. But hey, we had, Undertaker and Bray Wyatt last year. So why not put Kevin Owens in there? Will we see The Rock versus Triple H at Mania? No, we won't. We won't see The Rock wrestling. He's not wrestling. DW says, is it possible that Daniel Bryan could leave WWE and go to New Japan? Not anytime soon. His contract is up in August. So if they don't re-sign him, if he doesn't take any type of deal from WWE and just wants to leave, Daniel Bryan's contract is up in August. Maybe he leaves. Maybe he goes elsewhere. Out of WWE's hair. That could be a possibility. Could be a possibility. Yeah, I'm getting the sniffles, if you will. So I want to thank everyone for hanging in there as I wipe my nose during this show. All water in the cup, keeping me sane. But yeah, so again, I want to thank everyone for joining us on VOW Live. Share this video out, like it. Please hit the like button. It's a very small thing, but it would go great to enhancing our standing in the search rankings, because I would like to do this regularly. I would like to have a weekly VOW live show for you to call into, for you to chat with, for this show to give the voice of all of you out there, and just have a wrestling discussion about anything, not confined to WWE. We talk New Japan. I wanted to get into a little of the TNA silliness from the weekend, but it wasn't that big of a topic. They made fools of themselves a little bit. If you want to go look at what TNA did, find them on Twitter at Impact Wrestling, because they still don't know what their brand really is. They don't know if they want to be TNA, if they want to be Impact Wrestling, what they really are. It's comical at this point, really. As much as we want the wrestlers to succeed, the company, the people who run it, are a joke. And it's unfortunate. But I want to thank you all for watching. I would like to do this regularly. We're still in beta testing mode. There will be some weeks where we don't do it. There will be some where we do. It's not a regular thing yet. We hope to make it a regular thing. But something that would go a great long way in helping make it a regular thing would be anyone who shops on WWE Shop or anyone who shops on Amazon, use our affiliate links to shop through those places. voicesofwrestling.com/Amazon takes you to the Amazon website. You can then shop on Amazon like normal. There's no extra cost, but we get a little kickback on that kind of helps support, some different things we're trying to do with the website, one of which will be very exciting, which will update the format of the website a little bit. So we're working on some things behind the scenes that I hope we can get your support on. We can get your support on that. That would be great. voicesofwrestling.com/WWE shop. You can go pre-order the new AJ Styles shirt, which looks like it's out of order now for about a month. You can pre-order it, but you're not going to get it for a month because they just sold out. They went so quick last night after AJ Styles' debut, which is a good sign. DW asks, are we going to talk some Dragon Gate? Call in and let's talk Dragon Gate. Call in and talk Dragon Gate. I'm not super familiar with the new Dragon Gate. I used to be a big fan in the mid 2000s, but I sort of know what's going on, but I don't follow it religiously anymore. So maybe you can call in and teach me some Dragon Gate. Teach me in there. But yes, thank you, all of you, for joining us in the chat. This is going to do it for this week's VOW Live. The plan right now is to come back next week with it. If that changes, follow us on Twitter @ShakeThemRopes. We'll give you the details. But right now, the plan is to do another one next week. So hopefully, I want to thank everyone who called in, but hopefully we can get some new voices on the show. Give us a call. Give us a call next week. The same phone numbers. We will be taking your calls on all the hot topics of WWE and professional wrestling. But I want to thank everyone for watching the show tonight. For Rob McCarron @ShakeThemRopes on Twitter, we will see you all next time on Shake Them Ropes and VOW Live. Good night, everyone.